Hi everybody, welcome to Jessica. I'm your host, Jessica Rector. Now we all have heard the saying, be all that you can be. But how do we go about doing that? How do we go about fulfilling our dreams, living the best life that we want to live? We're going to answer that question. We're also going to figure out the journey that one must go on to do this. Please welcome my guest today, Young Park. Thanks for joining me today, Young.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your journey and how it began.
To kind of put a very long story into very short form.
Okay.
I came to the U.S. as a little kid with my family from South Korea, and so one of the principles that I grew up with on a day-to-day basis is that you can personalize and you can achieve the American dream. And for the longest part of my life, that was defined by, going to school or getting into Harvard and following this track that would make immigrant parents happy.
Right.
And then fairly recently, I worked as an attorney, and then I stopped because I just wasn't happy doing it. And I realized, it doesn't matter what outside definitions of success are. If I'm not doing what I love and what I came here to do, then it's meaningless.
Right.
So I love performing comedy. I also spent many years at various psychic institutes doing hooey stuff, and doing spiritual counselings and healings and readings for people, because I just love helping people. And it was just the combination of doing the performing that I love, and also finding a way to kind of do ministry through comedy or whatever. That for me, it's like I have to practice what I preach, and I feel like I've done so many things in my life that instead of saying, oh, I'm wasting time here and there, I've finally come to a point where I realized all the education, all the law stuff, all the work in art school or working for artists, and what I'm doing now, it all helps me to be a better person, and that's by example, help other people.
Okay, I have to say this, which is totally off the subject, but your hair looks so good.
Oh, thanks. I did it myself.
I kept staring at it, and I was like, I've got to say it to get it out of the way, or otherwise I'm going to want to say it the whole show. So I had to just say that to get that out of the way.
It's so funny because I was just thinking your hair looks great.
Oh, thanks.
Let's talk about hair.
Now that we got that out of the way, I kept looking at it, I'm like, gosh. So I was concentrating on your hair the whole time, and I was like, her hair looks so good. Oh, okay, that's me. Yeah. So what made you decide to change paths? A lot of people have the burning desire that they want to do something else, but they don't know how to go about doing it. They don't even know. The biggest question, I think, is where do you begin?
Right. Well, I think it always begins from the inside out. I totally believe that all of us have an inner voice or inner guidance, a gauge, and it expresses itself as how you feel where you're at, any moment in time, and you're doing the right thing or in the right place when you feel really joyful or excited. You just can't wait to be awake and do what you're doing, and then when you're not where you're supposed to be, then you feel really, anxious or depressed or unhappy. And a lot of times, I think people make the mistake of thinking, oh, this is horrible, and they beat themselves up for feeling bad. But it's actually awesome, because that's their internal gauge helping them, guiding them on their right path. So for me, it was working, in a professional field as an attorney, but feeling like it was wrong, and constantly having to try and convince myself I should feel lucky. Someone would kill to be doing what I'm doing here, and
that's what people have said, about me. They're like, so many people would love to have an MBA, and I'm like, okay. And it's not that I'm not grateful for it. I'm sure, like you, it's not that you weren't grateful to have the job, or especially when times are tough, you're grateful that I had that education, but it's kind of like, well, but it's not me. It's not who I am.
Right, exactly.
And I just felt like by continually doing that, or being, you know, corporate America, I was slowly dying a miserable death. And people say that a lot. But the thing is it's different when you actually feel it. When you're like, oh gosh, I hate this.
Right. And, you know, the thing that I realized is that that feeling that you described so well, that feeling was like negatively affecting every part of my life.
It does.
Because, like, in terms of love life, it's always a great thing to talk about. But in terms of like love life, you know, since I wasn't happy where I was at, and I certainly wasn't meeting people in the circle I was in, I wasn't meeting the type of guys that I would truly find, you know, wonderful. Then I wasn't being myself, and of course, you know, my soulmate out there or soulmates couldn't find me because I wasn't expressing myself.
Right.
You know, so I just for various reasons, I just had enough, and I had this one night, you know, like in the spring, and I just saw, it was almost like seeing my life flash in front of me, like I could take this road, and or I could, which was safe, and everyone in the country or world does this safe, yuppie, white picket fence, 9 to 5 life pattern, and I could trick myself into thinking it was okay, or I could go into this other path that seemed so unknown at that time and so scary, but there was no logic to it, but my intuition was like, you have to go through that, what looks like a dark door. You have to, it was sort of like, okay, well, I'm at a crossroads. I can just feel it inside emotionally or spiritually. I have to figure out what I'm going to do.
And it's hard because it's like, sometimes you're just like, oh man, I'd like to take the easy way. You know, but you also know that if you take the easy way, you take the easy life, that, you know, I tried that and it was unfulfilling and it was dying or whatever. So it's like, you know, but so many people take the easy way. So many people take the easy life because it is easy and it just comes to them. And it's like, you have to really, really want it. And then other people say, well, but I have kids, but I have this, but I have this, you know, I have bills to pay. So if you're, you know, struggling with these kind of questions, what do you do?
Yeah. Well, you know, I've really been, like, doing a lot of meditation and kind of listening to all this New Age crap now, all this great New Age stuff, and I'm taking a class at this wonderful spiritual place, church that I love. And it's all amazing to me how, like, no matter what religion it is, the true nature of, like, the religion, not all this destructive stuff that's, like, hurting other people, but the true, like, message in, like, all the different world religions is really the same thing, about how life is really about love and joy and peace, and that's actually our basic nature. I mean, our lives are supposed to be, like, amazing beyond belief. And so all the stress that we have, or the dissatisfaction or pain, that's what's not normal. That's, like, not supposed to be our reality.
That's interesting, yeah.
So, you know, one of the things that I've been really processing is, okay, well, how do you take that information? How do you actually make it your day-to-day life?
That's true.
If it's true that our lives are supposed to be amazing, how do I take that and every single day of my life from here on out, live it, practice what I preach and all that?
So how do you do it?
Well, one of the things that really kind of blew me away when someone told me this was they said, you know, thought, well, first of all, the whole notion of, like, we actually manifest our reality. So most people make the mistake of, like, looking outside of themselves, and they think they're stuck in the situation that they're in. They react. They spend their whole lives reacting, and they can never get out of this unhappy place. But the truth is actually that we're creating our reality from our thoughts.
That's true.
Inside out. That's why you see people who, like, when they suddenly have the excitement of a vision for what they want, and they hold it and they work towards it and they never give up, then you see them achieving something that everyone said it couldn't be done, but they believed in, they created it from their desire.
But I also believe that if you cannot see it, it's not going to happen.
Absolutely, yeah.